Hi, I'm Paul Santinello, and we're hosting the Candidates Forum here at LCTV for school committee. There are 4 candidates running for 3 spots, correct? It's 2 spots rather for a 3-year term. And that's what I always get. So 4 candidates for 3 spots, or 2 spots for a 3-year term. And today we have Dr. Carissa Rosenblum and Julie Morgan as candidates here to answer some questions. So what we're going to do, the format is question and answer. You get a 1.5-minute opening statement, 1.5-minute closing statement, and then in between I'm going to lob some softballs and hardballs at you, okay? So why don't we start alphabetically. Julie, why don't you go first about why you're here and that type of thing.
Okay, great. Hi, my name's Julie Morgan. I'm a parent of 2 Longmeadow Public School kids, both at Center School. And I'm running for school committee because I want to make sure that Longmeadow Public Schools are a great place for all of our kids to go to school. I have some unique qualifications for the job. I have a law degree and a PhD in higher education, and I've been working in education policy for about a decade. I taught education law and public policy at Boston College as an adjunct. I've worked in the US Senate. I've worked at think tanks doing education policy, and I currently work at the US Department of Education. And I decided to run for school committee because I just am kind of called to public service. I've spent so much of my career trying to build educational opportunity for students, and I want to bring that right home to Longmeadow. As I've talked to parents and education leaders, you can see really clearly that we have really great public schools here, but it's not without challenges. You hear parents talking about the effects of the pandemic on children, on their mental health, and on their academics. We also hear parents worried about the levels of anxiety for kids who are in the high school here in Longmeadow. And then we have these larger challenges that we're facing as well, including the question of what to do about middle school infrastructure, or how to make sure we have sustainable funding for our schools. And I think the work that I've done has taught me a lot of things about how to build good, inclusive education policy. And I think most importantly, it's taught me, number one, how to work together and find compromise with people who might have different views on an issue. And it's also taught me how to really take input from the community and from all of the voices who need to have a say in our policymaking, and bring that together and build, educational decisions that people really feel like they understand and like they have a part in. So I'm hopeful that you'll support me in my bid for school committee.
Thank you. Carissa?
Okay, hi, I'm Carissa Rosenblum. I have had over a decade of experience working in education, starting as a classroom teacher in middle school and high school, and then working up to an instructional coach both at the school level and then eventually at the statewide level, consulting with school districts all across North Carolina, in some of the poorest regions of our country, really, and some of the most affluent regions as well. So I feel like I have kind of seen a lot of the issues that are plaguing our school districts, and that may and will be an issue and are issues here in Longmeadow. And I've worked with the administrators and the teachers and the communities to help resolve some of those issues. I have a passion for education. I absolutely love it. It's why I have worked for the last 12 years of my life for my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate, all within education. Why I'm running in Longmeadow, I have 2 young children. My son is 3.5 and my daughter will be 1 this weekend. And while they're not currently in the Longmeadow Public Schools, they will be. And so I want to be proactive for them and for those children who are in their age group, so that we can work to solve some of the issues that are here in Longmeadow, and continue this legacy of excellence that we have. I have worked, as I said, in K-12 schools. I've worked at the college level. I've really kind of done it all, and this was the next step for me. I've always been interested in local politics and wanting to get my foot into that door, and this just seemed like the perfect opportunity. So I'm really excited to be here and really excited to answer your questions, and again, I hope that I have your support as we move into June.
So there's a lot of feelings like over my lifetime where I've always known I wasn't the smartest guy in the room. And this is one of those occasions. So I'm serious, not to make fun of anything. You guys are just way too smart for me. So let me ask you this question. If you were to get on the board, So you're going to answer this first. We're just going to go back and forth. So next time it'll be you. So if you were to get on the board, what would be the one issue that you want to present to really follow through in the 3-year term?
Sure. I think one of the issues that was brought to, I think, both of our attentions was the middle school infrastructure and the problems that really both Williams and Glenbrook are having. And we need to solve that because environment affects education. It affects how the kids learn. It affects how well they're learning, what they're learning. It affects how the teachers can present the information. It really trickles down to everything from top to bottom. And so we really need to fix those schools and those buildings and that infrastructure so that we are giving our children the best opportunities possible. You know, I went to high school, and when it snowed, I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When it snowed, the snow came through the windows. I mean, I wasn't thinking about Antigone. I was thinking about this little collection of snowflakes on my desk. So we want to make sure that we are allowing our students the ability to succeed and do everything we can possible. So I think in the 3 years, you know, there's already kind of a slight plan in place from the reports that have been out there, that there are goals for the 3 years, the 5 years, and then beyond. So that would definitely be something that I would really want to grab hold of and move forward with.
Yeah, thanks. You know, I know we have these really big decisions coming up, like the middle schools and like the sustainable funding that we need for the schools. I think when I think about things that we really want to carry forward and make sure that we're not forgetting, I think about the vision of the graduate. You know, there's an opportunity here in Longmeadow to rethink what we think is success for our children, and I think that's really important. You know, our town is changing, our society is changing, and as I said earlier, you know, we hear a lot about the pressures that are put on our kids in school, and as much as we want them all to succeed and do well, I think we really want to be building resilient children who are willing to take risks in their education and in their career, and you know, come out of their education kind of like fully formed and you know, adults who are ready to participate in the world. And so I think that would be a long-term project, is to really work with the other members of the school committee and take some of the research that they're doing now and kind of build that into a longer-term vision.
All right, so I'm going to ask a follow-up, because I'm host and I can do this.
Uh-oh.
And you can chime in after as well, okay? So when you talk about, and I agree, that the pressure on kids is just unbelievable. I've got 3 that graduated from here and understand the whole thing from K through 12, right? And it's different pressures at each level of schooling, right? So in elementary school might be whether or not they blow their nose and throw the tissue away now, and you know, things like that, versus high school, right? Where we start searching for colleges maybe as early as 8th grade now. And talk about the stress that puts on kids. And even in sports, you see kids changing sports because they've had how do you do that?
Well,
and I'm not asking you to solve it. I'm just asking because because there is, and I've seen it.
Yeah, and I don't think I can solve it here today,
I know
unfortunately.
that,
but if you put me on school committee, it's another story.
But when you talk about, like, you know, making it like a more complete student.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think it starts with conversations with parents and with the community about what they expect out of the schools, because I think if we're not all in this together, it's not really going to work. But I think that we can provide additional opportunities for students that let them feel like they have a path for themselves besides just, did I get into the best college? You know, am I getting better test scores than other people? So, you know, members of the school committee have talked about internship opportunities or other opportunities for kids to get out into the community and feel more part of something bigger than just test scores, sports, things like that.
Yeah, there's more curiosity on my part.
Yeah.
I would love to chime in. So I actually did my dissertation on mental well-being in students at high-achieving middle schools. So this was my daily life for 3 years. So what we found is that, yes, obviously we know the anxiety in students has risen exponentially. And what we found was that it had to do with the amount of homework and the amount of AP courses and the amount of extracurriculars that the students were involved in. Obviously, if we schedule students and children for every minute of every day, that anxiety is going to increase and increase and increase. And so it was a conversation that was started between first our school and the administration, And then we went out into the community to talk to parents, because we obviously want our students to be well-rounded. If they want to do soccer and baseball and football, we want them to do that. But we also need them to see that there's a give and take. And as adults, I think we can kind of feel that a little bit more, but we need to teach our children what that looks like. And one of the ways we did that was by giving them those extra opportunities. We partnered with local hospitals for students who were interested in going into pre-med so that they could go out, this was pre-COVID obviously, into the hospitals and kind of shadow the nurses and the PAs and the NPs and the physicians to see what it was about. We partnered with the local law school so that those who may have an interest in law wanted to see what it was before they got to their senior year and suddenly had to declare a major that they knew nothing about. And by doing that and giving them these real world opportunities, we kind of backed off of, okay, I have to take 7 AP courses because I have to do that. Well, I could take 3 AP courses and do these 2 really cool internships and still have a very well-rounded student and some real-life experiences.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. I know those kids who took 7 AP courses. They weren't mine. All right, so you get the answer to the next question is, so besides infrastructure, we know that's a need. It's been a need for a long time. What else do you see as something that you think you want to work on, whether it's curriculum-wise or something else that you see that needs some help on the school committee?
Well, I think actually building the linkages, I mean, this goes a little bit back to Chris's point, but building the linkages between the schools and the community is a really important place for us to focus. You know, I mean, Longmeadow is a small community. There's a lot of opportunities to get involved and to feel like you have a place, but for a lot of families, their schools are really kind of the hub of that for them. And so I think that we can leverage the schools better to get families more involved in the town itself and to help make them kind of a point of connection for all of the various things that are going on, whether it's, you know, connecting. I mean, I'll be honest, as a parent coming in, I wasn't sure what kind of childcare to get for my kids. But you know, your schools they're about the kids, right? That can be a place where those kind of community services are brought into people's lives. So I think that's a really important area of focus for us.
Okay. Krista?
You know, you mentioned curriculum. I think it is important to always go back to the curriculum and not rewrite the whole thing, not throw it all out, not start from scratch, but just making sure that we're in line with what our students really need to know. You know, the idea of a 21st century learner is now kind of outdated because we're looking beyond that. You know, these students will graduate and have jobs that we've never heard of. They already do. Who knew what a social media influencer was 10 years ago? We didn't, but they absolutely, right, they absolutely do now. You know, and that's a very real job that they could go have. And so, you know, just making sure that we are providing, again, those opportunities, making sure our curriculum aligns with what is actually happening in the world and the needs that we are seeing arise in all different industries and all different services, so that we can produce graduates who are ready to go, and not even our graduates, but also our little ones. You know, the reading programs need to kind of be looked at again. Some new research has come out and shown that what we thought really worked doesn't really work anymore, and so we need to make sure we're staying on top of all of that research so that we can give our students the best that we can.
Okay, good, because that leads to my next question. I asked the select board members the same thing. A little bit more on their things about financial. When we institute a new project, for example, do we go back and look at it and see if it's covering the need that we originally wanted? Are we really doing what we said we were going to do with it? Do you think we should be doing that on the education side as well, looking at the past programs? And you're up first, Carissa.
Absolutely. The only way we improve is if we look to the past and what worked and what didn't and what kind of worked but needs tweaked. And, you know, when I was in the classroom, I was told by your 3rd year you'll be set, because by your 1st year you have no idea what's going on. Your 2nd year you're going to tweak what you did your 1st year, and then by your 3rd year you've kind of got this a little bit, if you teach the same thing, of course. And I didn't necessarily feel that way, but it was comforting to hear that, in that I don't have to start over each time. So if a new issue arises with curriculum, we don't have to start fresh. We can look back and say, well, this program was okay, but if we can add A, B, and C to it, it will really shine for our students.
Julie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for us to look at what we've been doing with a really critical eye to see if it's actually working for students. And I think at the same time, this is a place where it's really, really important for us to get input from the actual educators in the classroom to make sure that when we're talking about, making tweaks to curriculum or, starting new programs within the schools, that it fits within their daily lives, right? So we want to improve, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel if we don't have to. And I think particularly where we're coming out of this really intense couple of years of teaching for students during the for teachers during the pandemic, it's really important to kind of take their temperature on things like that. But I think the schools have done a great job. I know they're looking at a new math curriculum right now, and I think they've done exactly what Carissa said, which was to kind of take a look and see, is this worth it? Is it worth the additional effort to do it, and then move forward based on that.
Okay, so in communication with the community, I've been on various boards and everybody says we're going to communicate, right? So people are getting disconnected from cable more and more. And I don't know how big it is in Long Meadow, but you might not have cable. You guys have kids, so you know what it's like running around, right? Between soccer practice and ballet lessons, all these other fun things. How do you get the message out to people in the community? And you're first. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it work. I'm keeping track.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I've been trying to use social media as part of my campaign because it is a place where, let's face it, we're all on there, right? And so it kind of comes into your daily life. I think that has been really helpful. I think also just being out there in the community, having kids who are playing on sports teams, being involved in other, whether it's your local church or other activities in town, you get to meet people and hear what they're thinking. I think the other thing is, as you mentioned, we all really do have really busy lives. And so I think that in itself has to kind of be taken into account when we think about, how to provide opportunities for people to participate, right? So when we're scheduling meetings where we want parents to be able to give input, let's try to schedule those at a time of day where parents can actually show up. And, when we're looking for, I think volunteer opportunities are a great way for parents to get involved and to see what's going on in their kids' classroom. But sometimes people need to split those activities because, taking on a really big leadership role is just not possible given their other schedules. So I think that we can, both kind of use modern technology, but we can also just kind of, as we're thinking about getting people's input and getting them more involved, think about how it fits into their kind of modern lives.
Carissa?
Yeah, absolutely. The social media aspect is huge. I've also been using it because that's it. But I think one of the points Julie brought up is that our schools are hubs in our community. So if we have important information that we want to get out there as a school committee, I think we need to use the schools, whether that's an announcement on their morning announcements or something on the bulletin board, or even a flyer that gets emailed out to the parents. But keeping it short and sweet and to the point because we're all busy. My kids aren't in sports yet, but they have swim lessons and other things that keep us going every day, and it will only get busier. So I appreciate when I need information, it's short, sweet, to the point. I get the information I need, and then we can move on to the next thing. So I think using the actual schools and their methods of communication shows also that we're partnering with them, but also might be a smart decision on the committee's part.
Okay, so I know you have a closing statement, but and we're going to start with you, Carissa. What would you like to work on besides the infrastructure? What do you feel is the biggest need or anything that you want to work on as a project when you get on the school committee?
Sure. Really, I would like to learn a lot about the Long Meadow Public Schools. As I've said multiple times now, my kids aren't in them yet, and so I do have a lot to learn on that aspect of it, but I feel that I can be a strong voice because I'm coming in without kind of that necessarily clouded perspective of having kids in there already. I'm a proactive person, and so I'd really love to hear from parents and the community and everything, what they feel. As I said, the infrastructure, the curriculum, making sure the teachers are feeling supported. As Julie mentioned, it's been a really rough few years for them all over the country. And so making sure that whatever we can do for them as well, and our administrators and whatever support they need in our community, I think is really important to come from the committee then.
Okay, Julie?
Yeah, I think, the issue that always comes to mind for me is the school funding. We're in a difficult funding situation, the town has these overall fiscal constraints, and then at the same time, the budgets for our schools are a big part of why, sorry, not the budgets really, like the opportunities that the schools provide are a big part of the reason why people move here. And so, it's really, I think, in all of our best interests to find a way to fund our schools sustainably. So, that's something that I've had experience with in the past. I haven't worked on a budget as big as the school departments, but I've worked on smaller organizational budgets, and now I work on issues related to federal appropriations. And so that kind of, how many FTE do we have? Where are they placed within our public schools? How do we make sure that we're not spending on things that we don't need to, but that we are investing in those things that I think have been really critical and that we know have made our schools special. And so I think funding would be a big priority for me.
Okay. So what I want to do is, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity if there's anything else that you want to add besides your closing statements, because I think, without getting into like line item details, which I don't want to do on this, because not everybody's here either. So, but is there anything else that you want to add before we kind of finalize this up? Hey, for your closing statement or anything like that, you get some time.
No, I'm very excited about this opportunity. As I said, it's something I've been looking at for a long time to get into local politics. I've thought about school committee before, so this was a perfect opportunity. We are here to settle down and stay in Longmeadow. My family has moved around quite a bit between my schooling and my husband's training as a physician. And so we're here for the long run, and that's part of the reason why I really want to be a part of this community and give back. This is the first place we have considered settling down. So that says a lot about all the places we've been here in Longmeadow. This is it. And I feel like we've gained so much already. We've only been here for 2 years, but I have a community, I have a support system, my kids have friends, but they go to a wonderful school and will continue to go to wonderful schools, and I'm just very excited for the opportunity to give back to Longmeadow.
Julie?
Yeah, I would just say, when I started my career, I didn't intend to go into policy or politics. That wasn't really, something that I focused on when I was younger. But when I went to high school, I went to all of my school in Fall River, and the educational opportunities were not as good as they are in Longmeadow. And I think it really helped me see the difference that good schools can make in a kid's life. And that got me set down this course of, what can we do to improve educational opportunities for all kids? And so I really kind of come at this position on the school committee from, like a really long track record of working and thinking about educational policy issues. It's just kind of, a history of public service that I'm really proud of. So I'd love to have the chance to work on the school committee. I think there's an amazing group of people there who are really dedicated to improving our schools. I think I can help round out their expertise and hopefully, make you all proud.
Excellent. Okay, folks, elections are June 14th. It's a Tuesday, obviously. Polls open at 7. Select board members already said they'll give you coffee if you show up at 7. I'm holding them to it. So, well, listen, there's 4 candidates for school committee for 2 seats for a 3-year term. Scott Bombardier and Zach Verridden couldn't make it today, but we have Carissa Rosenblum and Julie Morgan. You've heard them. Please go out and vote. It's important because every election does matter. And 3 years from now, if you're not happy, that's your problem. So if you can get out and vote, it's Tuesday, June 14th. Please go out. The issues are there. Learn about your candidates. They're on social media, which is awesome. So you can look them up real easy. And thank you for watching, and thank you to LCTV for hosting this. Have a great day.